So again, that talking point, because again, I've listened to some discussions in other places, and they'll turn around and say, "Well, hang on, well, maybe because they Orange Man bad. Oh, maybe they haven't hit everything. Maybe this isn't half as successful as it seems. Maybe he's going to get dragged back in." Because literally, towards the left, and wait till I show you some of the political reaction in the United States, is they are casting this as a giant mistake. So therefore, they are echoing what they're hearing back from Tehran. That
absolutely,
despite the bluster, it didn't work.
Well, that's why I was keen to say at the start of this discussion that the world is a safer place now, and that all preceding presidents would have taken the same action here. This is not something that's come up in the last 6 months or even in the last 20 months since October the 7th. It has been a threat that successive American presidents of both Democrat and Republican have said we need to stop Iran getting a nuclear weapon. All of the leaders of European nations, the United Nations, the IAEA, Australia, it has been a global consensus about stopping this happening. It's just been the pathetic diplomacy's failed to deliver on it. Correct. And now it's happened physically. And just on that point, I agree with everything Shari said about how detailed the Israeli action has been, and they've taken out these other sites and the expertise. They've taken out the nuclear scientists that would do all this work. But you do have to worry. There's 400 kilograms of 60% enriched uranium somewhere in Iran. Now, it's either been blown up by these bombs or they could have shifted it in the last few weeks. I would have thought that Mossad and the CIA, American intelligence, you'd be looking to find out where is that enriched uranium. Now, that can't be made into a nuclear weapon straight away. It would need more enrichment. They would need to get more centrifuges. But, yeah, I think there are 2 points. It's been very thorough, this, but I think the reconnaissance and intelligence on the back of this to make sure it's done properly will be ongoing.
Yeah, well, and again, that idea that Trump was brought into this 2 minutes before the end, wasn't really aware of what was going on. But as you say, there's plenty back and forth here of the past little while. Now, can I just turn to some of the...
In fact, just on that point, by the way, President Trump said today, and I love the line, he said that he'd been working with Bibi Netanyahu as a team, perhaps the best team ever. It was so Trump, but it's
everything's
true.
the best ever. Yeah.
But this has been, that they might have the odd difference, but this has been a terrific partnership, unlike how difficult it was for Israel under Joe Biden.
Well,
and I don't have your confidence, by the way, Chris, that every president would have handled this, because we've seen other presidents choose to strike so-called, trade deals where billions are given to Iran, which ends up financing
The difference here, though, was that Israel had taken 80% of the action of the job. And you're in a situation now where Iran's on the back foot, most of their nuclear activity taken out. The whole world knows it needs to be taken out. So it was almost a gift given to the president.
If it was Biden or Kamala Harris, they wouldn't have been saying ceasefire, de-escalate like Penny Wong does.
Kamala would have been laughing. Biden would have been asleep. Think of a reasonable one. Clinton, go back to Clinton or Obama. Maybe those Democrats would have done it.
All right. Now again, some of the reaction inside the United States to the left of politics. Now, again, we spoke about the MAGA stuff. It is a sideshow to the reality of how the world has changed today. But, of course, in the United States, the capacity of a president to be able to start something without having to go and get permission first from Congress is an area that as often can be debated. Now, generally speaking, the theory of the executive power of the president, generally speaking, seems to win out. Presumably, if this was litigated all the way up to a Supreme Court that is dominated by its current justices that have previously said things like, if it's an official act, it's not you get that, generally speaking, it'd probably fall Trump's way. But if there's a question, we know there are people that want to go there, and here's part of the explanation about people who are suggesting that the action that the president took and not asking Congress first would be grounds for a potential impeachment. This doesn't happen tomorrow. Doesn't happen next year, but remember, if the Democrats get control of the House in November of next year, they'd be in exactly the position they had been twice before to be able to impeach, not remove, but impeach the president for the third time. Have a look.
I think the most striking things that we've heard from Capitol Hill is that in the past couple of moments, Sean Casten, who is a Democrat from Northern Illinois, he has said that this is an unambiguous, impeachable offense. He's saying, I don't think we have the votes to impeach. He said, but you don't do this without congressional approval.
So let's get to all of that. The idea that, again, the orange man bad crowd, and again, like this, if you've been watching, and you wouldn't have been unless, of course, you're on the Flash app, freely available, flashnews.com.au to sign up to, is you'd be watching MSNBC. That's the sort of left-wing cable news station, right? They are basically saying Trump started World War III, it's all his fault, dumbest thing ever. So that's what all this garbage is playing to. But Chris, again, knowing how much the Australian media loves, firstly, Orange Man Bad, secondly, loves the process story, all the rest of it here, and despite the fact that I've said logically, you got to wait a long time and a lot's got to go your way, and it probably doesn't. But this question of, basically, is he involved in a war by dropping one series of ordnance on one night, or you can get away with that one and done, meaning you don't have to go to Congress?
Yeah, look, he's the commander-in-chief, and he obviously has the ability, the authority, and indeed the duty to act in this way. Look, having seen the way the left globally have effectively supported Hamas over the past 20 months, nothing surprises me. But they're now talking about this as some sort of unilateral act of aggression by the United States. Even American Congress people are saying that. That is absolutely outrageous. And you just got to think about what people are saying here. If they're trying to say that America and Israel are the aggressors here, they are giving a leave pass to the Islamic Republic of Iran for supporting and facilitating the slaughter and atrocities of October the 7th. They're giving them a leave pass for having Hezbollah in Syria and Lebanon raining down rockets on civilian areas of Israel for month after month after month. They're giving a leave pass to the Houthis for attacking ships in the Gulf and also sending missiles into Israel, hitting airports and civilian areas. They're giving a leave pass to Iran for directly targeting its missiles at Israeli cities, at suburban areas. This is a war crime, but the UN doesn't say diddly squat about it. They're too focused on demonising Israel and the US. Now, people have to think logically about the appalling regime that Iran is, the horrible atrocities they've either committed themselves or facilitated others to deliver, and talk that they have been trying to get a nuclear weapon.
Correct.
That's not in question. The International Atomic Energy Agency has been trying to check this, and they've been hiding stuff from them. The whole of the world, the EU and all the European nations, all those lefty nations you all like, and Democrat presidents and the like, they've all been onto this, trying to stop this happening. So yeah, if you want to stand back and say it was okay to let this happen and let them get a weapon to fire it at Jerusalem, I mean, give me a break. People have to actually use some logic and some morality in these debates.
And it's not like Trump rushed into this. I mean, he spent 5 months negotiating, 5 or 6 rounds of negotiations. Even last week, he was urging Iran to come to the table. And on Thursday or Friday, the Ayatollah said we're not coming back to the negotiating table. We're not going to surrender. He couldn't have done more. And just to add to your list, Chris, as well, that's not to mention all of the countless terror attacks on Americans, that Iran has committed over decades. And there's, this weak-kneed response constantly from the international community where they don't want to take any military action. And what we saw today, and I don't know, it was explicitly mentioned by Netanyahu. It was. He said, peace through strength. Yeah. That Reagan phase, peace through strength. You need America to show deterrence. That was lost when Biden withdrew from Afghanistan in the appalling way he did. There has been no American deterrence. America has not been the leader of the free world really since then. The wars have started up. That returns now. China and Russia, this sends a strong message to them as well.
Yeah, exactly. And remember Obama with the red lines and all of that stuff. This is a moment where, hey, told you 60 days. You got 60 days to come up with something, 60 days to start to show me you're pulling this thing apart. Welcome to 61, 62. Once we've gone past the 60, this is what's happening.